So welcome to part two, in which I finally started to head east towards the Slovak border in pursuit of the Templar alignment. As you might recall, I'd had quite a despondent time in the previous day or two, although I had found this on the Merkosh line, the female line of the Templar alignment, another puzzling stone and wood arrangement left there by somebody doing who knows what, a mystery. That evening, it was a full moon, and I spent the night in my van on a campsite in a beautiful valley, probably in the male line of the Templar alignment, before in the morning setting off towards Vsetin. If you recall, Ever and I had been to Vsetin once before, where we found the Templar line and a node on top of a hill with all kinds of weird stick designs as well. At point number one is Vsetin. This time I was driving along the highway and saw some very strange stones at point one. Point two is the original site, and point three is another site on the Templar alignment, just so you can see how the line comes in. And when I got to Vsetin, I parked the car under the motorway bridge and investigated these very, very weird stone columns in this river. Now, this is not the Templar alignment, but nonetheless it fascinated me, because as I walked along this pathway, I found female, female, male, male, type 4 lines very closely spaced, and it seemed to me that the stones that were piled up in the water were positioned within those lines. I marvelled at this, and it really put me in a much better mood. I was finally finding synchronicities and mysteries and interesting things, dowsing, which is exactly what I'd hoped. The fact that it wasn't a Templar line didn't bother me in the slightest. This was just miraculous, and I absolutely loved the atmosphere here. As you can see, someone has taken the trouble to pile up these stones. Why they would do that is beyond me. But I can assure you that these stones lie within the Type 4 lines that cross this river at this location. And it seemed to me that there was a direct correlation between the stones and the lines. I measured them many times walking up and down this path, looking to make sure. And I can assure you that these stones all lie within the lines, and the gaps represent the gaps between the lines. These lines are pretty closely spaced. Between the two females was just 2 meters, and between the last female and the first male was a little more. You can see these wonderful stone arrangements. And I don't know why anybody would do this. Maybe I'm just, seeing something that's not there, but this is what attracted me to this point, and it put me in a wonderful mood for the rest of the trip. From here, I moved on to where we'd found the Templar alignment before, and I mapped many more points so that I could track the line across country, going into that node that Ever and I had found, and then coming out the other side, getting an azimuth so that I could then decide, using my maps, which way to drive now to try to find where the Templar went from here. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to find it, but I relearned my ability to ask the rods to point me to the Templar line. And this worked. This worked extremely well. This is Vsetin, and there are other lines passing through those churches, but not the Templar line. The Templar line lies to the north. So I then moved on, following this road out towards the Slovak border, and I eventually found the Templar line at the most amazing place, Velke Karlovice. Velke Karlovice isn't a very old place, and it has a population of around 2,500. It's documented as being there in 1714, but it lays on the Vsetin estate. And at one time, as we discovered earlier in the year, Vsetin was part of the Templar estate. So that makes a lot of sense. This is a skiing area, and we'll see some ski slopes later on. But this wooden Baroque church of Our Lady of the Snows is quite famous. It's a protected cultural monument, and it's built in the shape of a Greek cross. The first mass took place here on August 15th, 1754, and you can guess, the Templar line runs straight through it. I couldn't believe it. The female Merkosh line runs through the temple, and Perun is nearby, just behind the church. I mapped the line coming into the village, across the road, through the church, and up the valley side on the other side, as you'll see momentarily.
I'm camping here tonight. It's close to the Slovak border in the mountains, and you know what, it's really sad, because plainly at one time, perhaps, I don't know, maybe in communist times, this place thrived as a buffet restaurant, bar, bathrooms, goodness knows what that is, probably ski rental, a ski slope. Plainly this was a ski resort and a campsite. I can tell you that when I arrived, it's run by two very old people, and plainly it's no longer making any money and falling into disrepair, and it's just a shame. It really is. These kind of campsites, not long for Czech Republic, it would seem. I don't know why. It's a nice campsite in a nice location. You would expect it to be busy, but there's absolutely nobody here. And that's the second time this week I've shown up at a campsite and there's about 5 people in a field. Unbelievable. So I bought this outdoor cooker so that in the summer I don't make lots of food smells in the van. Not a bad idea, I think. It's easy to carry, lightweight, and works. Meanwhile in the van, everything's shipshape and making a cup of tea. It's hot though. Like this whole area has suffered a downturn, I guess. Czechs are now happy to and can afford to take jets to Turkey and Greece and Egypt, and not to the Czech hills. It's a shame.
The following morning was when I checked the line all through the village, across this road, and on both sides of the valley, and I realised, with mixed emotions really of sadness and joy, that I was now reaching the end of my 2 to 3 year journey of tracking the Templar alignment across the Czech Republic. I could hardly believe that I'd done it. So many miles, so many kilometres walking, so much hiking, so many wonderful places visited, so many incredible synchronicities, so many meaningful situations. Incredible journey. But I wasn't quite finished. There was still a few kilometres to the border, and I had an inkling that I could pick up the line a few more times. So this is what it looks like so far, mapped from Vsetin all the way through to Velke Karlovice, and in the next video we'll finish this journey together. Thank you. Please do subscribe.